Ready. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, everybody out there watching us tonight. We just want to make sure the fitting is back. Behind the camera is Lucy, like always, helping us out. And tonight we have a special show. We've been working really hard for years to make it happen, and suddenly it's coming together. First, I want to introduce to my friends, personal friends, friends of the industry, and people that are listening and helping us believe and make happen what we think needs to be happening in this industry. I want to start with Mr. Enzo Linden. Thank you. Everybody. We're going to start who is a CEO of Red Trucking. You're going to forget me. I'm going to try to make a conversation. So I want to make sure that you understand who these people are and why they're here. So, Enzo, let's start with you first.
Sure.
Real quick. Okay. Tell me something about you, what you do, and that way we're going to go around and we're going to tell everybody who's here.
Well, I started in the industry when I was very young and, unloading containers. My father was an owner-operator. I was fortunate enough to be with him in the trucks when I was 5 years old, going with him till the age of 14, 15 when he let me park the truck in the yard. And then as I got older, I was able to drive a truck at 17, 18 in the yard a little bit more, and locally in New Jersey. I became a dispatcher, and then a couple years later, I started Red R.E.D. Trucking, and very fortunate that I got to help other truck drivers and owner-operators help themselves out, and that's why I want to say thank you to Edison and the PDA for having an opportunity to be here and to be part of what PDA is trying to do. Because I believe that I've been doing the same thing and just trying to help drivers the best of my ability. Always driver first, because I'm still a driver at heart. And to my right
is Mr. Tony Villalobos. Good evening, Mr. Tony.
Good evening.
We do a lot of business. For the people that don't know, Mr. Tony Villalobos is also a worker from Red Trucking. He works with Enzo for many years now. He's in the human resources, right, Mr. Tony?
That
Just
is
tell us a
correct.
little bit about what you do.
I'm in charge of human resources at Red Trucking. I also do the recruiting. I follow the vision of the company, which is to bring on drivers that want to progress and want to do good in the industry. Our motto at Red Trucking is upgrading the transportation industry, which means that we hold high standards, but we do help the drivers. Those drivers that don't qualify, we still help them try to land jobs in other companies. So my job is to make sure that we keep a good flow of drivers coming into Red Trucking.
Well, and I think we have on the left side, Mr. John Constantine, right? You told me, be sure that you tell my last name the right way. So I'm going to say Costin.
Yes, perfecto.
There you go. He of sales of Red Trucking. You see, we have a family over here, so you're going to forget me. My English is still not looking good.
It's good. My Spanish isn't that good either. So it's fine. My name's John Costin. I'm the Vice President of Sales for Red Trucking. I started out in the industry over 35 years ago. I was a messenger for Customs House Brokers, and I was running the piers here right outside the door, surrendering documentation, custom paperwork. I've been, back in the day, before all the issues we had, you used to be able to just drive right up on the pier. Well, things have changed since then. I've worked for steamship lines, I've worked for other trucking companies, container leasing companies, freight forwarders, NVOs, but for me, my true love has always been trucking, because there's more loyalty to a good trucker than there is to anybody else. And here at Red, our whole thing here is about promoting the trucking industry, but not only for our own company, but for the entire industry. It's very important that people realize what these gentlemen are doing down here every day. And I shouldn't say just gentlemen, because there are ladies as well too. And so here at Red, and with the Port Driver Association, we are all advocates to drivers and their rights and the things that they should be getting paid for. So today, hopefully, we're going to answer some of your questions on some things, or possibly help or give you some insight about
These kind of things. But the thing is, we are here, and it's all right.
message.
The message needs to be come out. And the question is, why? We were having a little conversation prior to the meeting with Mr. John Enzo and Tony. And we were trying to ask everybody, why now? Why are we trying to do these free events, these training classes now? And why they didn't happen before? And I want to tell you something we're going to have a conversation with everybody here in this table today, and we're going to start with saying something. Why this is happening? Because the industry is not what it was before. And I want to start with a little history from Mr. John, who's been in the industry how many years?
35 years now.
35 years, John. 35 years. I can't believe you've been 35
Well,
years.
what's funny is that when I first got in the industry, when I was a messenger, and when I used to surrender documents, and I went down to Faro Lines. And Faro Lines is steamship line now. It's long gone. I think they probably got rolled into P&O or whatever it was. And back in the day, I went to, I was 18 years old, a young kid, and I went to surrender some documents to one of the guys in the office. And at that particular time, everyone was smoking in the office. There were beer cans on the industry's changed quite a bit.
That is true.
I had given this gentleman the documentation, and he had a cigar. And he's smoking the cigar, and he looks at me and he goes, "Kid, whatever you do, get out of this business now." And I looked at it and said, "Why? Why would I want to do that? I love it. This is so exciting. This is where everything happens." And he looked at me and said, "Kid, this business is like being in the mob. Once you can get in it, you never get out." And I grew up in it, and I started out as I was, 18, 19 years old. I don't even remember now. But for me, the one thing that I always look back at, especially with our industry, is that people fail to realize that a trucker actually invented containerization. And his name was Malcolm McLean. And he started the whole thing right here at the APM terminal, what used to be Sealand Terminal. And on April 26, 1956, the first vessel left here with 58 containers. Now, actually, they weren't containers, they were trailers, and they were 35-foot trailers. And they went from Port Newark down to Port Houston. And the whole reason for this all happening is because he had to find a better, cheaper way of getting this cargo down to Houston. And so Malcolm, came up with this idea, and he started containerization. He started Sealand, and he's known as the father of containerization.
And you know what is funny about, sorry to interrupt you, John? The way the history tells me is that he was sitting in a line waiting to be loaded. And back then were really lines, not the ones that we have now. So if you think you're in a line when you go to central terminals that I don't want to mention, believe me, back in those days they used to sit down and wait for a long time. And that's what caused it, right? To call the attention that he was like
the waiting times, also the handling, the labor costs and everything else, and he came up with a way of reducing all those costs. But you have to remember too, is that back in 1956, we didn't have the infrastructure that we have now today. So when you were taking a truckload down from New York down to, say, Texas or Florida, it took you a long time. It took you over a week or two to get down there. And so Malcolm, of course, came up with this idea, let's put him on a ship. And that was it.
And so, tell a little bit about your story. How did you start? How did you become tell us how everything started for you, because nobody should start from the front door. Somebody have to go straight from the bottom door.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was fortunate enough that my father was an owner operator. I used to go into 51 when it was when it was 51, which is PNCT. I'm sorry, Berth 51, and he would take me in there, and I was a little kid, and I was these were the days when a child can go with their father in the truck. Today things are a little bit different, but I was just amazed. I loved it.
Let me stop you there. What do you say? That was the days when the child used to go.
Child was allowed.
And this is something that I want to make sure that you understand. This is a part. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No. I've had the same conversation, but go ahead.
The idea of this is why you see the meeting we're having tonight is about why are we doing these trains? Why? And he just mentioned something that is going to start the conversation. We used to go with our fathers.
Yeah.
I went with my uncle. I learned to drive with my uncle.
Yeah.
Okay, so I went with my uncle sitting in there while we were waiting in line. I used to drive the truck and move the line, and while everybody was sleeping or eating.
Or he did the paperwork. He would go through the paperwork, and he would leave me on line, and he'd just go, sit there. You know what to do. Just the truck in front of you moves, you move a little bit.
Slow.
So my dad would go all the way to the line to go to TIRs or whatever, turn in paperwork. Back in those days, you had to turn in the actual bill of lading. We're talking 20-something years ago and everything. You would have to go there, show the paperwork and everything. So we would kill two birds with one stone, because I would do the line and my father would walk over and turn in the paperwork. But it was amazing. And I what's funny is that I had this conversation with somebody 2 days ago, but Tony and I have had this conversation for years now, how the reason why there aren't the driver shortage, I believe, is because drivers are not allowed to take their own children with them in the trucks, and this is all because of insurances and things like that. But if a child sees what his father does, a child wants to be like his father, and trucking is absolutely beautiful. But kids don't get to see that these days and everything. They don't get to enjoy what their fathers do. And that's what I did. I just got into the business. I really enjoyed it. I went to school. My father was an immigrant. My mother wanted me to be a doctor. I told my mother, listen, I love trucks. I want to get into trucks. I want to be an owner of a company. And ever since I was about 12 years old, I knew I was going to do this. So, and then when I worked for someone, and this is another story, I actually worked for another gentleman, and he would always not pay the drivers correctly or cut off a day on their week. So every Friday when I was dispatching, I would ask a driver, here, I have a load to Dayton, New Jersey. I'll give you my check. Yeah, but do the load and then I'll give you the check. No, give me the check. I'd give him the check and there was a day missing. The driver would say, I'm not working, this guy again didn't pay me, and I was stuck with the load because I was a dispatcher. I told myself that day and all those days, every Friday, that whenever I own a truck, whenever I own a truck company, I'm going to sit there every Friday, stay until the evening, and every single one of my drivers is going to get paid exactly what they should be paid, what was promised to them. If there's a check that's not incorrect because of clerical problems, I write out a check right then and there. I mean, these guys can attest to that. You know, that's a main thing for me, for my people. So that's why I wanted to get to where I'm at as an owner of a company, because I wanted to make sure that drivers get paid what they're promised and get paid well.
And that's something, you see, the idea of these training camps, these seminars and all these things is because, unfortunately, we need to start working together. It's simple like that. You see, a lot of people don't understand the severity of the changes. The changes are going for the good and for the bad too. And if we don't learn how to stay together, how to work together, how to support companies that are good to the drivers, sooner or later we're all going to disappear to multinationals. And that's something that we have to take into consideration. So the idea is to learn to protect yourself, right? Because why do you need to protect yourself? And this is when he came to me, he asked me the question, why should I support this event? Why should I do this? And I say, and so we have a situation, and we were talking with you, Mr. Tony, remember? What is the situation we mentioned was unfortunately, okay, if we don't act now and educate the drivers and show everybody what's happening in the industry, you won't be able to get company drivers or independent drivers. Because there's going to be so much damage. Unfortunately, like you say, when you were 20 years ago, nobody cared about insurances. Nobody even thought about insurances. They didn't even know they exist. Nowadays, when you go an application in your company, you follow every single step of the book. You want to make sure, that everything is correct. But when the drivers come in, first of all, they hate the waiting time. Second of all, they don't understand what is the PSP report.
And we are PSP, and now you have the DAC report, that's part of within other companies and everything. Tony, you want to talk a little bit about
Tony,
this?
go ahead, tell us. You're the human resources. You're the one who have to face these things.
I can talk, but I know that, we've done so much.
One of the things that I know that's very beneficial about having these trainings and seminars is some of the things that I see that the drivers face when they start working for really good companies. What happens is a lot of them went to a training school, and they got like the minimum information about what the industry is all about. When I do my orientations at Red Trucking, I found out that a lot of drivers lack certain knowledge that is very crucial for them to have their driver's license clean. We go into even how to fuel, how to take a curb, what's a good inspection like, how to go about having a good DOT inspection, pre-trip inspections, post-trip inspections, and they don't face the same situations all the time, having success in their careers and become true professionals.
But Tony, this is the thing that's happening, and it's happening to you. You get the frustration when you see these guys that are willing to work hard-working persons, that for some reason
Don't understand what is going on with their licenses. That's what we're trying to, and education is where we want to get to. Education.
No,
right?
and that's
I want to go into the reports. There are three types of reports that the drivers go through, which is the motor vehicle, which is usually everybody knows that one. Then there's the PSP, which is all the DOT stops. And then you have the DAC report, which is the record of companies with transit authorities that they work for, DOT authority. So these three reports tell you pretty much if the driver is qualified or is not qualified. And on paper. And sometimes it only takes one report to be lousy, you know, which a lot of the guys don't realize that the PSP reports, they count. You know, and if you, like you said, there's a company out there that doesn't take care of the equipment and doesn't care about the truckers, okay, and they send them out there knowing that the equipment is faulty, you know, the drivers then become part of the problem because they assume the problem of these bad records.
Yeah, but that is a problem because here's the situation. I know a lot of people are trying to understand. So how are we planning to change this with this group of people? I've been doing this for many years, gentlemen, and the problem is this. A lot of people have different ideas how to fix the problem. But after years and years of doing the same thing, we have learned that the best way to approach this problem is by educating the drivers to understand what they can do, how can they do it, and how they can protect the terminal.
Right now, the Port of New York and our whole entire industry has exploded. The amount of business that's coming through the port.
Drivers and Port Authority and longshoremen to look for a solution, and it hasn't come out to that solution. But what do you see?
Well, when a local move takes 2 or 3 days to do, you know, and so then what have we had to do is we've had to, you know, increase our cost, you know, increase congestion charges, things like that. But, you know, we can't have our drivers sitting like this in the pier like this. To me, you're held hostage.
And that's one of the situations. Everybody's complaining about the hostage situation. And as an owner of the trucking company, and here's the situation. I'm going to put you in a little, you know, seat, and we have this conversation. You know, as an owner of a good trucking company, because having two different companies, good ones and bad ones. What is a good trucking company? A good trucking company is the company that cares about the drivers, that cares about that they get paid, they make sure that they save in the roads, that they make sure that everything, the equipment that they carry is completely. And this is the situation. Drivers start choosing. I have to blame drivers because I'm a driver and I did it myself. I mean, I made mistakes. I didn't know the industry. That's why we're educating them now. Is the situation comes to the point where, you know, I go to your company, you take 3 to 4 business days to get an application going because you're doing the right way. You know, you're applying, you're doing the process, the right process. Okay? And suddenly the driver comes and says, no, but I go down to Pedro or Peter, they charge you, you know, I start working 5 minutes after I apply. So this is a situation that changed the game, you know, because you're doing everything by the book, you know, and that comes out with the customers, you know. Tell me, we know about the situation because the trucking company and the drivers, but tell me a little bit about the customers. How do you deal with this situation? Because it's very uncomfortable for you telling the customers, yeah, I have to charge you, and the customer telling you, I don't want to pay.
Well, you know what, Angelo, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, let me just go real quick. Mm-hmm. The customer today is important. I'm not going to, obviously, without the customer, we don't have the freight to give to our drivers. The drivers can work, but we can all make money. But what we do is we really vet our customers today. I'm very, very fortunate that John has actually come aboard and everything. You know, he understood my ways, and basically I didn't even have to tell him that, hey, if I can't bill for my driver, then I don't want that customer. John's idea was always, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. John, I mean, you tell him about some, obviously we're not going to start naming customers, but tell him what are your conversations with some of our customers,
Well,
John?
the thing here right now, especially with the flood of new talent and new people that are coming into the industry, working for our customers and forwarders and brokers and all the people that we deal with, they don't really know a lot about the industry. And so, you know, when I said last year with ELD, and then this year, everyone knows about it. And years ago, people would just have to bang on the desk to get things done. Well, that doesn't work anymore. And because, you know, the demands that we have on our fleet itself is tremendous. And it's not only us, it's every trucking company.
Well, you mentioned the volume of containers have increased, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking, the Port of New York is gonna do over 6 million containers.
Well, we were walking and, you know, many months ago before I had John.
You know, and I I handle all the pricing, everything. So I see all the rate requests that come in, I see it all. And half the requests that come into me are just,
No,
so
and
it's
that,
not.
that's it. That's
Let me just finish up, because there's a lot of things here, because today you're seeing like where there's pre-pull charges, there's congestion charges, there's different charges associated. Like if you can,
it's
you know,
impossible.
so you have to.
That was back in the
unless-
day, not even the day.
Yeah,
It hasn't been that way.
The only way that'll happen if you're running a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week drop and pick operation, and it doesn't matter when we get there. All our customers want 8, 10, 11, you know, whatever those
Yeah.
appointment times. So in order for us to accommodate
About all
that-
this stuff, though, honestly, we can't do this without drivers.
And,
Right.
and that's,
And
the, that's,
I
the,
think-
that's the,
I think well, the way we have always run our business and everything is help out the drivers, educate them as best we can in our little world. So now we want to bring this out to the big world and everything. And the reason why we're also here is to talk about having a seminar in about a month.
oh yeah.
You know, this is
But
what
this
we're,
is-
that's what
But,
we're really
this
here
is-
for.
but you gotta understand something, and so the idea of this is to bring a whole bunch of people with knowledge of the industry to talk about this, because drivers are upset because they complain, oh, the company is the guilty ones. Yes, I understand. I personally believe the companies have the support, they change. They have to manage to work together, but it's impossible because it's just the way it is. Antitrust laws prohibited anybody to merge together to do that. People don't understand. People say, why do we need the training? Well, if you don't know what is an antitrust law, you need the training.
Yeah.
Right? One run?
Exactly.
If you don't know why you can't organize, why you don't become a union member, why it didn't happen, you need to come and train.
Yeah.
This is the seminars because a lot of people were like, oh, but all we have to do is what? Educate yourself.
Yeah.
That's the rule number one. If you don't educate yourself, you don't understand the industry, how can you change anything? You have to change things, but you can't just, a lot of people question, and this is the reason why we're doing the seminars now that we're going back to seminar. A lot of people question that we have the ability to come, to do a demonstration to show the support, the hate that we have against the terminals. And that's good. I did it personally, I did it many times. But here's the situation that I face with it. But this is exactly what I tried to
That's
do.
not the answer. Yeah.
When you don't know, you do things that you don't know because there's nobody to teach you. So when we did it, nobody was there to teach us. So what happened was everything went well. Everybody supported, everybody went, and people were, oh, but I saw people coming. Well, you gotta understand the rule one in the industry. These terminals managed to have drivers from nationwide. So if you want the support from everybody, you need to send memos to every single driver registered in the terminals, which is impossible. Because you don't know the addresses, you don't know their phone numbers, you don't know where they even live, because some of those guys live in the road. So how can you organize something perfectly when you don't even know who's there? Okay, so that's number one. So you can't organize anything because you don't have the support. Now, you can educate drivers, and this is where we come with Tony, because if Tony educates the drivers, you educate the drivers, now you have a group of drivers that's gonna meet in the ports, meet in the travel window, meet in the lunch truck, and talk about this. Because people want changes. I want to change. But you know what? The seminars for that. Mr. Tony, we talk about the seminars, and you're going to be here working with me with the seminars. And the idea is what? What is the idea that we want to give in the seminar?
The idea is education. Education is power. We want drivers to come in and feel like true professionals, that they have all the tools. Any job you go into, you need certain tools, and you need to upgrade those tools at times, and learn new things. I believe that the port driver, the seminars will be good for that. It'll bring the driver into the new era of transportation, which is rapidly changing, like these gentlemen have talked about.
Well, and so right now, a lot of people say, do you have to have a reunion with points of education? I agree completely, 100%. You always have to have points. But in this industry, if you start putting points, you're missing points. Because there's so much problems that we have in this industry, that if we just put a list of what we want to reach, it's never going to happen. It's never going to. So we have to address the points that come into our minds that we see that's affecting us. And everybody has a different view what is affecting you. Because you own a trucking company, it's not the same thing on me driving a truck. You're going to be affected in a different way. And that's why we don't put points. So if you think, I just want to make sure that everybody understands the industry is very complicated. And by being so complicated, you need to understand it to understand what can we do, our limitations, and what can we ask. A lot of people don't want to agree with this idea. They hate this idea because they say, well, that's not true. All we have to do is stick together. Okay, you stick together, you see the new home, you don't go to work, what you want to do then? Who's going to be the person who's going to speak in behalf of you? What are they going to do? And this is why these seminars are important, because while that happened, maybe in the future will happen if everybody helps educate, you have to protect your license. Because what happens when you don't have a driver's license?
You're not driving.
And if you're not driving,
You're not making money.
and that's what we're trying to prevent
Yeah.
here.
And
The idea
but it's not about making money, it's about supporting your family.
is
You know, that's
supporting
what
the
we're, now when it comes to the seminar itself, it's about knowledge. Knowledge is the key, and we want to educate you. So if you were to go buy a car today, you have to know your credit score. Why do you want to know your credit score? So you know if you're going to get a loan from a bank, you know something. So the seminar we want to do, we want to join with PDA, and I believe PDA's already got this movement going where PDA can start looking up points, the PSP points and things like that. What's a PSP points? You're going to learn this at the seminar. What's a DAC report? You're going to learn this at the seminar. What's safety? What do you need to know about the port? If you're a trailer driver also, what's very important is trucking in a drayage driver to go in the port. He's a totally different monster. It is. It's a good monster, but education is the key. And what we want to do at the seminar is actually help drivers. And if you know how good your PSP report is, your DAC report is, and you know how much you are worth and how much you should somewhat make. And if you get to a point where your points are good and you know that, then you go work at this company, that company, this company. It's very difficult to work for me because I have a certain area of who I can and cannot hire. I want to hire everyone, but because of certain points on their license, the points on a PSP report or the DAC report, I can't. Sometimes Tony is nice enough to jot down the date. Hey, if you're good for 6 months, come back because these points erase. That's how much you learn about how points erase. That's what the seminar is about. The seminar is going to teach you so much more, and I want to invite as many people as you can because on January 16th, right? February 16th, we're going to have this seminar right on Port Driver here on PDA. You can follow all the information and everything. I want to help you. That's my goal. My goal, I believe, I am in this business to help drivers, educate drivers. If I educate you, you're going to either work for me, and if you don't, I don't care because you're going to learn something and you're going to go somewhere else and you're going to have knowledge, and that's what I want you to have. I don't want someone just to drive a truck. You're not just a truck driver. You're a business owner. You're an owner-operator. You're an entrepreneur. You're many things. You're not just a truck driver, and you just need to educate, and that's why we're here. That's why Red Trucking is here. That's why Tony's going to take the time to do this. I'm approving it, of course. PDA, thank you, PDA, because the most important thing is this office and everything that they stand for and everything, and we want to be definitely a part of that.
And we
That's
have a
for sure.
web page.
And the web page is amazing. And-
People say, why do we need a web page? Because we know that you don't have time to stop and everything. You know that we don't. Sometimes I'm a truck driver. Enzo was a truck driver at one point in his life, and we know
I
that.
still am. I still have my
Yeah,
Twig and everything. I'll
you-
drive. I don't care. These guys know that I'll drive a truck.
But the idea
I love
is
to
that-
drive. I
the
love
idea-
truck drivers.
He still has a medical card.
Still my medical card.
I'm surprised you still have the medical card the way you
I
eat.
have a very good PSP because I don't drive as much as you guys.
But the
I
idea
care.
is-
That's also the most
The
important thing.
idea is this, and that's one of the parts that we're going to be talking about. You say, for instance, I know that PSP. I went to my safety seminar with my company. I don't need that. For the new drivers, I don't talk about the old drivers. Here's the situation for you new guys. The new drivers, they're sitting out there waiting for something to happen. Here it is. A lot of drivers don't know what is the gooseneck chassis.
Chassis.
Okay, a lot of drivers don't understand why you can put a 12.6 box in a regular 20-foot chassis.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand how high a flat rack is. Okay, a lot of people don't understand why is a bridge in the VQE they say 12.6, and then you can go through a 12.6, get out in Atlantic Avenue.
Yeah.
So if you are one of those drivers that don't know why it's 13.6 in New Jersey and 12.6 in New York, and you can go through that 12.6 in New York, and then you come in a 12.6 in New Jersey and you don't make it, then you need to come to this class. And you know why we don't tell you right now? Because we're working really hard to make sure that this class and these free seminars are available for you, so you don't have to pay money. Because if you go to any place, anywhere, okay, they charge you just to walk in and say hi. And we know how hard it is for a truck driver to make a penny. because we all here, for one way or another, we feel it.
Yeah.
Because he flies with a driver that doesn't want to go back to the terminal, he's feeling it that way. You know why? Because he had to talk to a customer that's going to start yelling at him.
Yeah.
Okay? If I don't go to the terminal, I feel it because my packet is going to hurt. It's a cycle situation for everybody. So that's why it's very important that you guys, all of you that are listening right now, they are saying, why do we need to do this? Why do we need to do that? That's a waste of time. It's not a waste of time. Nothing that has to do with education is a waste of time. If you think that going and getting in any kind of seminar or any kind of training that's going to better yourself is a waste of time, let me tell you something, you're wrong. If you have a chance to take something, take knowledge, because knowledge is money. Knowledge is power. And if you have that knowledge, now you can transform it in every way that you want to transform it. You can pass it, you can give it away, but nobody will ever take away that thing that you know. And you know that, right? How many years you've been working in the industry? I just wanted to, I feel like I thought that I was all in this industry, but every time I talk to John, he's like, okay, there you go, John is the guy that comes in there.
Well, one thing we got to, the ports here in New York are the best ports in the world. And the automation that they're putting into the ports to make our drivers' life easier, it's all happening. It's not happening as fast as everyone would like it to happen, but it is happening. We can see, PNCT, Global, everyone has
Putting
made
billions of dollars.
Correct.
Billions of dollars to make the terminals better, which is
And-
great. They're doing good stuff.
This stuff is going to be, there will be appointment systems, there will be this, everything's going to change. But the thing here is that the one thing that we need are drivers. And all the customers everyone, we need the drivers, because we had a customer come into our office yesterday. And he said, there was a can, he took a can like this, and he said, see this? My company did that. And I looked around the room, I said, see everything in this room? A trucker delivered it, okay? And that's the truth, is that people forget that, wow, how did this get here? Okay, a trucker picked it up. And so with everything changing and everything else, and, the drivers' pays are going to increase. There's the new cost of doing business here in the ports of New York, and people have to get used to them. Either that, or your containers are going to sit. And you're going to pay demurrage, you're going to pay per diem, it's all going to happen, because not only us, but every trucker in the ports of New York right now, if you're not vetting your customers and making sure that it fits your fleet requirements, then you're making big mistakes.
Let's make it really clear that the terminals, believe it or not, do not want trucks to sit in the ports.
No.
They don't. It makes it more difficult for them to move the containers, the ones that are coming in. They want containers to be picked up. But the problem is, let's go back to the driver shortage. And because drivers don't understand, if they get pulled over, if this ticket, how many points is it? If this ticket's this, if ticket's that, they don't know. So they just leave their yard with a bad chassis, a bad tire, and they say, oh, I don't care, my boss said it's okay, just go. And we're talking years ago, a lot of drivers did that, and now they're paying for it. We see, 30 drivers a month fill out an application for us. 30 drivers a month, or at least they walk in and talk to us. And we look at them, we look at their stuff, and we can't, I'm sorry. We feel horrible. Nobody feels worse than I do that I can't hire them because of all the other things. But because of the knowledge of not knowing what to do to keep your license clean, we're losing more and more drivers every day. Every day we're losing drivers by getting a ticket tomorrow, getting a ticket next week, for this, for that. If that driver understands and tells his boss, no, I am not going to move this container, because if I move these wheels, that's my ticket. It goes into my license, and then I get the points, and then I can't go apply to another company. Then I can't do this. We want to help. We, right here, this group, want to help drivers understand to take care of themselves, so that in another year from now, we don't lose 100,000 drivers because of points. We have those same 100,000, and then we even have even more of the younger guys that are coming in slowly.
Just to add to that too, is that not only is this for the drivers, but for our customers. Because our customers we'll get a phone call and I'm like, I have a container at PNCT. It's 2:30 in the afternoon on a Friday, and it's like they're asking us to go get it. And I tell at times, I'll tell people, I'm sorry, but we're not a cab company. We don't have cars just sitting around. All these fleets are pre-dispatched. So when the more notice we have, the more we can cover these things. But our customers themselves say, you have to understand what we're up against. We want to service your accounts. I probably say no to 95% of the business that comes across my desk because we just can't handle it because of the timing of it.
Drivers.
The drivers.
We don't have the drivers.
You know,
We don't, and
and-
back to the drivers.
But
It's
here
about-
comes the right change. See? And this is why a lot of people don't understand. So, what's this going to change? It's not going to change anything yet.
Not today.
Not
Yeah.
today, not tomorrow. But you know what? This is the beginning of something I want
Right.
to tell every trucking company that's out there looking for drivers. I see guys putting a $5,000 to $2,000, okay, bonus for bringing drivers to stay for 3 months or more. That's how much money a trucking company will pay for a driver that will have a good record and drive there. I think that these trucking companies should help, not just my organization, other organizations, educate the drivers. Why? Because instead of just giving away the money, use it to help drivers to train themselves, to educate. We have already a whole bunch of different driving schools around the state, the New York area, the New Jersey area. They're training new drivers every day. I went to school where they have almost 8 drivers training every single day. New drivers coming to that school. Well, guess what did I find out from those people that are training those drivers? They only teach them how to get the driver's license. They don't have no education in safety. They don't have no education in how the ports work. It's no education at all. It's not like at the beginning of the conversation when we were establishing what is this meeting all about it. When you used to drive with your father, I used to drive with my uncle. We don't have that anymore. If you have that, we have to go through permissions. And right away, I want to mention this because I just want to show you something. The infrastructure, we're talking about how big these ports are, how good they are. The infrastructure is more than $3 billion. $3 billion is already spent in the ports, okay, for infrastructure, building new bridges, okay, new terminals, okay, new systemization, automatization of the terminals. Guess how much money they invested in the drivers? That much. A big zero, not even 1 penny was set up to set up the drivers, knowing that without the drivers, we don't have
We don't have anything.
without the trucks.
I gotta correct you a little bit on that, only because you're right.
The
Education wise and this and that and everything, you do have the port authority, what they did with the money to help drivers to get a better truck and things like that. The 2008 was a horror story,
No,
but they did try to do certain things, so they
no,
did.
we're talking about
Now we're talking
education.
about education, as in, we had a conversation the other day. We talked about this. There's no more lines, as in you get out of the truck and you get on line. Back in the day, we used to get out of the line, have a TIR, and be at a checker where he wrote your location.
Yeah.
Okay? In that line, you used to actually talk to other drivers. If a guy was new, it was like, oh, it's my first time. Another driver would actually tell that driver,
Educate.
oh, you got enough 51. Oh, you got to go T99. T99's in the back, all the way around. Keep going. You follow this guy, go over there, and everything. That doesn't exist anymore. So he's right. He's talking about the actual job of going into the ports and things like that. There are trailer drivers that come to us, fill out an application, and we tell them how it is, and they're like, forget about it. I don't want to go on the port. Because they don't have education. But then we take them on and we teach them. We have a very good driver turnover. They stay with us. They learn from us. We teach them. We send a driver with them to go learn. We call up the terminal so they go 2 together. Tells them where to go and everything. I want to do the same thing here. I want to help. You might not work for Red Trucking. I get it. It doesn't matter. But what we're going to do is help 5 months, 10 months down the road, and next year, this and that. But if we don't start, if there's not a change, nothing's going to change.
The change got to start somewhere.
The change got to start somewhere.
Yep.
If for something to change, something's got to happen. And this is it. This is what's happening. I really am proud of being part of this.
Yep.
And I would love to help as many truckers as I possibly can.
One thing I want to get back to as well too, where you're talking about the drivers and the pay bonuses and everything else, and then they leave after a certain period of time. And you know, it's a short-term thought because it won't look good
The patch.
when when they come in apply for Tony, and all of a sudden he looks and these guys have had 6 jobs in the last 2 years. You know, that means there's no
loyalty.
no loyalty. And so, and for you as a driver, you know, and a long-term solution is that you really need to, you know,
Give a company a chance.
but make sure it's the right company.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. There are some companies that promise and don't fulfill, and I'm not going to talk about those companies because I'm not one of those companies. I've been very fortunate in the last year and a half. We've hired quite a bit of drivers, and they're still with us. I have drivers that have been with me for over 10 years. I have drivers that have 8 years with me, 7 years with us. You know, because we promise certain things and we try and fulfill it. I'm not going to say everything's perfect, but whenever it's good, it's good. And then when it's bad, we talk to them. What's wrong? Oh, I did a program once where I actually paid them for a day off when the things were bad. I actually gave them a full day of expense. Just say, okay, you're only working 3 days a week, I'll give you 1 day. Trust me, it hurt me. But it made the driver happy, and he understood, and then he stayed with us. So it's all about, you know, retaining these guys too, and that's what we try to do. And why do we retain them? Because we educate them. We educate them. Now, this whole thing is going to educate. So
And the idea in the association, a lot of people say, well, what the association is doing for the drivers. The association is not just talking about what we're going to fix. We're actually working and fixing. Having these seminars for free, that's a big step. Why? Because if you realize, if you think about it, look how many places you can go, where you can go and get some education. Even if you want to pay, tell me 2 places where you can get the education that we're trying to give you here. Okay? So you got to understand that we're doing something big. We're doing it so slowly because we want to make sure that we don't fail. We have been failing for years. Okay? Because the lack of knowledge, the lack of not having us. If you go to a school, it's a teacher with a book that is already been written by somebody else, and that's the one that they use to educate the rest of the children that go to the school. But no, the way that the association, what we learned, was learned through mistakes, through a lot of aggravations and a lot of fell downs. And it wasn't that easy, you know, this didn't happen overnight. It's been happening over almost a period of 20 years now, you know, 19 years already. That's how long it took us to learn how to manage to do that. That's why we don't worry about going in to do something in the terminals or doing, because we already did it. You know, people say, we got to send a message to the Port Authority. All I'm telling you, for those people that have that, we have the email. They come over here, so you want to meet with them. They're willing, you know, one day they're going to come and have a live TV show with us too, and we hope it soon. They're going to be here Saturday because they want to see too what we're doing. So they already say they're going to stop here. And Mr. Tony, tell me another thing.
I just want to add to that. I like the idea of these seminars being proactive. Usually something bad has to happen, really bad has to happen for somebody to try to change something. And I want to take my hat off to Port Driver, because I think that this is one of the things that we've been doing with Red Trucking. We haven't waited for something bad to happen. We've been educating the drivers. And let me tell you, the type of seminars that we put together, it's not the ones that you go in and you get bored watching a board or somebody reading from a book. No, we're very interactive. We engage the driver. We answer questions. We do follow-up, you know, and the type of seminars that we have, they're very, very driver conducive, which means that they're going to have time to ask questions. They're going to get the latest information, and they're going to get a really state-of-the-art presentation, which we always do a very good professional job with them.
And the thing is that I want to say thank you, Enzo, for doing the first thing, you know, helping us put these programs together. It's not having been easy. It hasn't been easy for me in the years, you know. You have a conversation with me, say, I respect you, you've been doing this for so long, and I understand, and you don't make no money, you don't do anything. I say, you know, I make money different ways, and the part of it is, this is a good industry. My kids don't, you know, they don't going to be in this industry because they already have taken other steps, but I see all the truck drivers' kids, they want to come in and become.
I
I
agree.
know, I have friends of mine who've been, their parents,
Same.
you, and everybody's making a good money. This is a good entrepreneur job, okay? And we're having a lot of problems with reclassification. I don't want to get into that. We're having a lot of issues. And this is one of the part of the seminars right away for the people that say, well, what am I going to learn? A lot of people have failed in this industry because they haven't get educated how to properly manage the money, so they don't have to be on Monday knocking the door of the dispatch asking for a T check or account check for fuel. Okay, I have a lot of drivers that say, "What am I going to gain with this stuff?" Well, if you come over here, we're going to teach you how you can manage your money properly in a way that on Friday you don't ask your dispatch to ask you for another $300 because you pay rent. We want to make sure that when you come over here, you know how to manage your money. So when you go into the mechanic, you don't have to expect and cross your finger the owner of the company hasn't leave so you can pay your bill, so you can take the truck out of the mechanic. These are the things that we want to teach you how to do it properly. We want to make sure that you don't run the IRS because, oops, I see. So it's a lot of things that you don't know that we want to teach you here. This is what we want to do here. We want, like he said, Mr. Tony said something really true, This is not just any kind of seminar. The way that I want to come into a seminar is not about having anything. This meeting over here hasn't been prepared at all. And I never prepare meetings because, like I said a couple minutes ago, I don't believe in preparation because there's so many topics this industry comes in. And I want to have an open conversation. It helps. Why? Because the ideas that we all have to better. And we're going to be okay. So this is the things that we want to talk about. Hopefully everything goes fine, Mr. Tony. We're going to see Enzo. Hopefully we're going to see Enzo. Like I say, the Port Authority is going to be coming over here to honor us with their presence. They are very interested in what these programs are coming about. They like the idea of education. They see the need of some things changing. We hope that by you pushing the wheel a little bit, and I believe this is a stone wheel.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of people see a stone wheel and they say, "What the hell are we gonna do with that?" But you know what? If that stone wheel moves,
Yeah, but
you better stay away from it.
You know how a stone wheel moves? With a team.
The team.
With a team. Simple as that. You can't be just one person. It's got to be an organization.
A really good seminar.
And I want to have that kind of seminar. I want to have a seminar where people feel like, can we stay another hour? So that's what we're going to be working really hard this February 16th to make happen. And for everybody, thank you very much for taking the
I
time.
have two sessions. We're
Two
gonna have
sessions.
one in the morning and one in the afternoon.
So are you telling me that we're having two sessions for the guys that got to go to the mechanic and take the keys to the guys and one for the afternoon?
The majority of drivers, I know they like getting up at 3, 4 o'clock in the mornings. For those, we're gonna have the morning one, and for the ones that have to go to the mechanic or get the trucks washed or whatever, we're gonna have one in the afternoon.
So you guys,
both gonna be good.
you have no excuses over here.
Just do your best to take advantage of this, because this is something that's positive, and anything positive is going to make you better in life. It's for you, not for us. Remember that. So I recommend that you just do your best to try to get to one or the other seminars and everything. It's something that's going to give you something to help you.
And if you're a trucking company that want to support these kind of seminars, we have our opens, hands open, is that how you say?
Anything.
Come with anything, just anything counts.
Truck company, mechanic shops, or anything.
Anything counts. So anything is welcome over here. Guys, thank you very much, all of
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so, Tony,
Thank you very much.
John, it was a
Good
pleasure.
stuff.
Guys, we'll see you next time. That's it.